or please write in the chat, introduce yourself. Okay. Nathan has started live streaming. So if you don't mind in the chat, introducing yourself to each other and to us. My name is Walia Lungu. I didn't even start by telling you my name. So my name is Walia Lungu. My other name is Nyangu. So that's the one you're gonna see come up on the profile, but it's my middle name. So you can call me either or, I'm happy with that. And I think I'll hand over to Nightingale to do the grounding so that we save time, but please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat, to ask your questions in the chat as we go along. And please raise your hand if you have to share something, and I'll look out for that. Thank you so much. Nightingale, would you like to come in now for the grounding session?
Thank you, Walia, for the welcome. And I want to thank every one of us that has come into this space from different locations, different countries, different cultures, different people. So I just want to recognize and feel free to also add in case I miss any place that I miss any place, because I want to just mention the places that I think we have come from. Please, please don't feel offended, but just instead add into chat where you're located or which part of the world you're bringing into this space. But I know we have representation of South Africa, representation of Zambia, representation of Egypt, representation of Nigeria, representation of Cameroon, representation of Ethiopia, of Kenya, and United States. And all these places, they are so different, and yet they are the same, that we have people living there, we have living beings there, but most of all is that we have different cultures and different different ways of doing things. And all these places are places where we are all grounded. And it is to that I want to give thanks right now, that place where you came from, or where you have come from, or where you are now, the place that's hosting you, the place that's hosting us, has done a lot for us. We are fed, we're nurtured, we're grounded. So we're thankful to the people who came before us, who took care of that space so that we could be held in that place. And so that's what I wanted to do. My name is Nightingale Wakigera, like you see there, and from Kenya, currently in California. You're most welcome. We are very happy to have this gathering, looking forward to more discussions about how our mental health connects to, it can be made a global priority, and how it is so key to our connectedness as people and to the rest of nature and the environment. Thank you. So I don't know if Walia, you're here? Okay, I'll hand it back over to you.
Thank you so much, Nightingale. And I'm seeing the chat going. Welcome, everybody. So happy you can be with us, those who are just joining us. And I'm seeing the pride in our flags for some. I'm gonna hand over now to Nathan just to give a few updates on Acopphe, and then we can start with the session. Nathan, can you come through, please?
Yes, thank you, Walia. So just a few updates to give a preview, and at the end of the meeting, I think we can probably have some more time to confirm with links if need be and specific dates. But we are now the middle of October, and just a little over 2 weeks away from the Planetary Health annual meeting that will be both in person and virtual. So a hybrid conference from October 31st, November 1st, and November 2nd. We will have several activities and spaces that we are leading as Acopphe. So we welcome anyone to participate and to reach out to us if you're interested in playing a key role in mobilizing, because a big part of how we can have a great impact is through connecting with our friends and colleagues so that they get a taste and a flavor of what it's like to engage in these planetary health spaces. After that, there's November 3rd, which is One Health Day, and we're exploring trying to host an event to raise awareness about the synergies between One Health and planetary health. So more details come about that. Then we have the United Nations climate change meeting that will be held in Egypt. That will be November 6th through the 18th. And we are planning to participate in person. Nightingale and I are trying to finalize plans to go to Egypt. Also planning to first stop in Cairo. So looking forward to connecting with Mona, and excited to see the beauty of Egypt, both the physical beauty and the cultural beauty, as we connect with others who are advocating for climate action that benefits all life forms on planet Earth. Then December 1st and 2nd is the In Vivo conference that will also be virtual. So both planetary health meetings, the In Vivo and the Planetary Health annual meeting, will be free to participate as a virtual attendee. So we'll really encourage everyone to register as soon as possible so that that step is out of the way, and then we can start connecting and making plans. The last event to mention is the EcoHealth International Conference that will be, I believe, in person in South Africa. And I believe the dates for that are November 14th through the 18th. So again, just a preview of a lot of activities coming up in the near future that I believe will be great networking opportunities, learning about other people and what is happening in the academic and policy and generally the action space as we work together to try and harmoniously balance the needs of people, places, and planet. So very much in line with our objective for this meeting today, to celebrate Mental Health Day and to highlight how important it is for us to be connected with like-minded friends and allies from around the world. So thank you for the chance to share those updates, and looking forward to discussing more as we continue. Back to Walia or Knight.
Sorry, I was almost talking with my mic off. Thank you so much, Nathan, for those very exciting updates. A lot, I can see we're doing a lot, even though it seems like it's behind the scenes, but a lot is happening, and a lot of exciting things, a lot of important work being done. And I hope we can all just join in where we can and push this thing forward in the mission that we have. I would like to now welcome Dr. Mona to come and do her presentation. So Dr. Mona El Sherbini is from Egypt, and she's an executive team member here in Acopphe, and she just does brilliant work, and we really appreciate what she does in Acopphe. So without further ado, Mona, would you like to take over, please?
Thank you so much, Walia. And let me just introduce myself to ask Nightingale to share the pre-recording, and I think this is better because my internet connection sometimes becomes like not stable. So please, Nightingale, if you can do this, let me know.
Okay, yes, working on it now. Okay, just bear with me. Nathan, can you see if you're able to share from your end? It's giving me a little trouble here. Okay, try. Okay.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm so happy. Assalamu alaikum. I'm so happy to be sharing with you today some of my thoughts and reflections on the World Mental Health Day. As a medical doctor, trainer, educator, mother, and leader here at Acopphe MRN, I understand how we all play important roles outside of the one listed on our resume or the LinkedIn profile. As I turned into the 40s of age, I realized that we cannot even begin to do our best work until we can bring our best self to all the roles that make us who we are. On a personal note, looking back from the very start of what Acopphe community had brought from the mission, vision, and the brand, and everything what we are trying to create of this scale at the MRN, I decided to lead by example. So thank you, Nathan and Nightingale. I'm incredibly grateful for trust, belief, honesty, and that strongly encouraged the spirit of sharing and improved the space we virtually inhabit. In line with the celebration of the World Mental Health Day, I also want to take this opportunity to acknowledge my hard-working MRN team of administrators, Samuel Abimbola, Vanessa Goyce, and Tajuddin Youssef. You deserve my sincerest gratitude and recognition for the daily support, trust, openness, compassion, and motivation. Together, we gained valuable insight into the intellectual and creative outlets in the environment we are fostering. An entire culture of positivity with commitment, dedications, but also with deeper relationship that certainly created a fantastic team at Mind. As such, I acknowledge the many difficult sacrifices my MRN team across the spectrum was called on to make. Yet we believe that happiness is closely linked to purpose, and this gives us momentum, validation, and trust to carry on with confidence and leave a positive impact in life. Having said that, it's very important to be a force for change, turning communication into a community of like-minded people, coping better with life challenges, because it is said that the only constant in life is inconsistency. Therefore, The theme of change runs at a large scale in our life. Ironically, humans are very good at seeking change but often bad at adapting to it. It is unsurprising that nowadays we struggle with the weight of expectations placed upon us in an increasingly uncertain world. Climate change, eco-anxiety, financial uncertainty, accelerated pace of life with information overload, social media fatigue, and multi-screening, up to the emergence of the nomophobia or the fear of being unable to access one's cell phone. These all are examples affecting the invisible half of our health, the mental health and our stress response. These large-scale predatory narratives interfering with our relationship with nature, self, and others were broadly addressed in the conference report published by my distinguished co-authors and the planetary health community conveyed by the Nova Institute for Health. In this talk, I will share some inspirations from this paper and hope you enjoy reading it in full length. In the artwork presented by Professor Susan Prescott, the era of broken relationships is manifest on every level. However, solutions lie in the pathways to reconnection, aligning personal and planetary mindsets, and this can establish stronger relationships with ourselves, others, and the natural world. All my and the mindsets of the Anthropocene as reflected by Jeff Grayson, arguing that our own sense of self and purpose must move beyond materialistic values with ulterior motives for power or profit. And so, mindful awareness and investing in positive emotional assets can shift mindsets through inner transitions that can eventually contribute to outer transformations, breaking the cycle of anxiety and mental distress. In the wider context, to propagate positive societal change, we must constantly remind ourselves and others to see the positive in everything, to live a hope-filled life, and always look forward to better days ahead. It is known that any crisis or trauma can precipitate change through post-traumatic growth. Because our complex threads are interrelated, we also depend on integrated solutions, perhaps using some of the 14 core ingredients for aspirational change identified in the NOVA Campfire meeting. Also, goal settings and meaningful relationships can build individual and community resilience with more empowering shared narratives that can promote connected consciousness, purpose, and belonging, especially today as we consider positive contagion of hope and possibilities with our celebration of the World Mental Health Day with the Acopphe community. Thank you very much. So thank you for your attention, and I would really like to have an open discussion about this topic of mental health in the Anthropocene and all the psychological pathways that lead us to this emerging threat of mental health and mental disorders only, also seen in young generations. So back to you, Nightingale.
Please, everybody, feel free to come through with questions, with comments. I think that is such a wonderful presentation. Thank you so much, Mona, for that presentation. And you know what you've highlighted is it's very personal in the sense that I'm really I'm an empath, so I have that problem to always, always want, the best for everybody. And I know we can do it small, one step at a time. But we need to identify what the problems are. And so I think you've kind of highlighted that. a great deal. It's difficult to solve a problem when we don't highlight what the issues are in terms of causing the problem. So thank you for that presentation. I would like you please, everybody, on the chat, if you have to, or you can just raise your hand and I will see you, or grab the mic if I don't. And please contribute, make a comment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Walia. And actually, change is inevitable. And at the same time, since we are here acting like advocates for planetary health and environmental solutions, so it is just this tipping point that we need change and we are calling for change, but at the same time, we need to be like healthy leaders and to pay a lot of attention to our mental health that can be reflected on the people surrounding us in the smaller community, in real life, and in virtual life. So that's why I aim to highlight the co-benefits of the Acopphe community and the nourishing environment that I received from each and every one in the administrative team. You included Walia and also Nathan Nightingale, Vanessa, Yusuf, and Samuel. I really owe you a lot because support is very, very important. And without you all, I wouldn't have been there. So thank you very much. And I can see the hand of Julia. Can you?
Joshua.
Okay.
Yeah, like Joshua, please come forth.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to, first I just want to appreciate Dr. Mona for the advice at least he has given us. We have seen it, and I hope mental health very, very important to us, and for sure we should emulate her ways of changing the world, planet, and people and places. And I think it's very, very important. And we've got and it was very educative. I just want to give big ups goes to her, and I just want to urge my fellow Kenyans to emulate what Dr. Mona has just represented to us. And I think all in all, we are going to move a notch higher. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your nice words and also for your encouraging words. I really appreciate that. And I want to add that there is also a role for the world we live in and how it affects our natural rhythms and also our relationship with the natural world and the environment surrounding us. So take, for example, the urbanization happening in many cities in Africa and all those urban green spaces that has displaced the green spaces that we are used to. And this kind of sedentary, screen-based culture that is creeping, especially in teenagers and in our children, school children also, this is very, very, very important to highlight also because it's a sort of a determinal factor for large-scale ecological changes that influence our biological system also. So there is a lot to say regarding the influence of the outside environment on our internal ecosystem or our homeostasis, as I may say. And at the end, sometimes mental health cannot really be in the manifest figure that we may seek health advice or may take any medications or something like this. I usually advocate for meditation and mindfulness, which is like really a benign way of approaching our problems, and at the same time it gives us a pause to reflect more on the challenges surrounding us and how we can overcome this on our own without any interference of pharmacological drugs or anything that may hinder our ability, physical ability. So I can see here Habibullah, he is a pharmacologist. So I wonder, Habibullah, if you are in line with me in this narrative, or you see that pharmacological treatments are really important to deal with minor health issues. So feel free, Habibullah, and also we have Johannes. His hands are raised, so maybe I can go to Johannes now.
Yeah, good evening to everyone here. It's a pleasure to be on this platform, on this meeting. I would like to appreciate the Acopphe executives for bringing up this very important session, and I would like to also appreciate the just concluded lecture by Dr. Mona. It's very insightful, and it speaks volume of the theme of the topic of discussion. All right, so with my own little contributions to what's on ground, I feel it's very, very important. And as Dr. Mona said in presentations, that it's quite important that we looked at our mental health, and looking at it from my own field, from a psychological aspect, I feel most importantly we need to manage ourselves properly in terms of the way we our habits towards things we do. We have to make sure that we dedicate some time to watching ourselves, giving ourselves free times. And those are the things before going into the maybe the pharmacological aspect. We need to look at the activities we engage in and how it tends to manage our mental health issues. When it requires for us to speak to certain individual experts, we need to do that. When it's required to take a break from some activities, we need to do that as well. When it's required to maybe probably just shut down, it's allowed, it's totally allowed, because everything still revolves around the mental health. And you need to make sure that you're in the right shape, you're in the right state of mind to engage in meaningful activities, which is very, very important. And so, but at times, because of life activities and life processes, we tend to find ourselves in a situation where we have to deal with our mental issues because of different engagement, different experiences that we might have had over time. So I think that's when we need to seek proper and professional interventions to cater for that, which will be very, very important. So in a nutshell, I just feel like we need to approach these issues in the right way and in the right manner, so as to be able to make or maximize the whole situation. So thank you so much. This is my little input.
Thank you so much, Habibullah. This is much appreciated, and I totally agree with you that before any intervention, we need to first examine the surroundings of this suffering person, and at the same time align the spiritual and the physical and the emotional aspect of that person. Because when you even study history of humanity, you won't find really a lot of these mental issues encountered. And so nowadays, with the advance of the microbiome science, there is also a link between the gut-brain axis, and this explains that what we eat is also reflected on our behavior. So there's a lot of things to think of, and we need to integrate all knowledge and have this kind of nourishing community so that we can thrive and be productive and also fulfill our purpose in life. Thank you so much, Habibullah. And I can see Johannes' hands raised. So please, Johannes, come in.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank
Go ahead.
you very much, Mona. Hello.
Hello.
Some voice disturbing, please. Thank you very much for your nice presentation regarding mental health. Uh, uh, Here, my question, my idea is, as we know that mental health, the cause for mental illness is a biopsychosocial model, or that factor that categorized under the biopsychosocial factors. So it needs a multidisciplinary approach to treat mental illness, like psychiatrists, psychologists, social workers, family, religious leaders, community leaders, and they also include another medical professionals. And to work effectively with this team, it needs positive attitude toward mental illness and the treatment, especially modern treatment of mental illness. But and also world, the professionals are calling the world to prioritize mental health as a priority concern. But in our setting or our country, poor attitude and the practice toward mental illness and treatment, including professionals, all health professionals, even higher officials, governmental officials, including, and also religious leaders. So, how can we overcome those challenges, especially regarding the poor attitude and the practice toward mentalness, but the responsible body, including even have not a good attitude and the practice to overcome those challenges, and what experience and what we could we expect from professionals or from us to make that is true that the professional is calling the world to prioritize mental health as a priority problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Johannes, for your question. And maybe I will approach your inquiry from first a personal standpoint that each and every one of us should handle his own situation by his own tools and by examining his own situation, you know. So first of all, you should get in charge of what you're suffering from and control what's controllable. This is step one before you approach, you know, any specialist for mental therapy or anything, because whenever you have this desire to change what's really getting you the trouble, then you are going to make it and you are going to be on track. And life is full of up and downs, so never expect that all of us, they are like having this linear sort of you know mental well-being. Sometimes we also suffer sadness, happiness, and so you just need to re-examine the situation and look for the causes. And here, as we said in the presentation, that the causes are the global causes of the Anthropocene, and put above this the Ukraine war nowadays and all the financial issues underpinning that for a lot of countries that is suffering, especially you know all the developing countries, they are suffering a lot. And so we need to understand where is the pitfall, the profit and the materialistic values that is really this kind of value system that is coming with all this Anthropocene era. We need to know that happiness is never in the materialistic world, and at the same time, self-awareness is very much needed nowadays. And because even I think that the medical treatment or the pharmacological treatment, as I say it, they act like just for a period, not for a lifetime. And so we need inner transitions. Inner transition should come from your ability to foster that change, and your purpose in life should be always at the center of your way of thinking. And so because these pharmacological treatments, they actually work on the central brain areas, and so weaning from these drugs is very, very very miserable actually, and may cause rebound effects which are really very bad to adapt with. And so my my passion to go into this area of mental health is because I see a lot of students in my university suffering from mental health issues and burnout, because the studying of medicine is very very heavy, and at the same time sometimes they have something like family issues, financial issues, and this make it like a tipping point for them. They go all the way to pharmacological treatments, and they find it a lot very difficult to stop the treatment. And so this is why I believe that mindfulness practice, reflection, and also our inner development goals should be really kept into the focus nowadays, because we cannot go with like palliative treatment or anything to inhibit the suffering, which we are really not treating the root cause of it. So I wonder if I really answered your question fully or not, but I can see many hands raised, so I guess Nightingale, it's your turn.
Thank you, Dr. Mona. That was a very short but very very strong presentation that could actually take us through a long period of discussion. I would especially love to hear more about the microbiome, maybe at a different time. But also, just like you said, that a lot of, when we look at the mental health issues that are there today, and especially even looking at just these past few years where we have had the COVID outbreak, although before that we had Ebola, there's so many struggles that have come and so much mental health disturbance that has happened because, again, there's been a lot of change. A lot of students had to stop connecting with the different communities, and some of them are communities that really empowered them and encouraged them to continue living and to find joy. But also connected to that, Dr. Mona, you mentioned green spaces, and more as we become urbanized, we're losing the green spaces, the forests, places where our, some of us in our communities, but even our forefathers just used to walk in those spaces, maybe to gather firewood or to harvest herbs or to do stuff like that. And in the process, there was a lot of self-care and connecting with the earth, with the soil, and we're losing that, or we're moving away from that as we seek modernization, as we try to gain as individuals. And so I think it's, for me, it's looking for that balance between the beauty of modernity that we have now and borrowing from the old ways that were there with our ancestors, with the old people, where if we go to those communities that are still very grounded, we see a lot less mental disturbance than in places where we're mostly moving from our communities that support us to places where we have to develop new relationships in places where people are so busy that they can't form relationships. So I know that that was a mesh, but those are the things that are going on through my mind. And just in a nutshell to say, I really appreciate this conversation. And I feel that these are conversations we should make, everyday conversations, as we try to figure out how to move forward, how to take care of ourselves, but also to be eventually wise ancestors that can then pass on that knowledge to those who come after us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nightingale. And I can echo what you said, that modern life, it has its merits. Like for now, we are joining virtually, and we had successfully launched Acopphe for, like 2 years now. And it's all like a virtual platform. So we have a lot to celebrate on virtual basis, and to acknowledge this modern way of communication. But at the same time, my message here that we need to be highly aware of all the influences that can undermine our biology, and at the same time can interfere with our cultural basis and or even root it. So we need to find the good in everything. That's the basic thing, and we need to see the positive in everything also, because we should be living with hope. Without hope we cannot really proceed. So regarding the microbiome, it is simply like our immune system. 80% of it lies in our gut, and so what you eat dictates your immune health. And so we need to be very aware of the way we are eating, the timing of our eating, because nowadays even they say like it's healthier to eat within a window of 6 hours only, because the blood supply and all the things that's getting in function in the digestive system, this is really consuming a lot. And so you need to eat real food, food with non-GMO, no hydrogenated oils at all, okay? And at the same time, when you are above 40, then you have to reduce the amount of fruits because of the glucose level and the insulin resistance. So we have a lot to say regarding this, but back to your question regarding the mental health status in urban environment and how this compares to rural areas or people in the past. We need also to know that we move so little. We sit a lot on screens, and we have this kind of stressful life. And so we should really remind ourselves always to decrease this cortisol level in our blood every now and then. Whenever we feel like this intense desire, like we are not really on track, we need to get in control of this cortisol level of our stress responses, and always have this mindfulness practice. As I say for my students, it's like 5 minutes when you wake up, 2 minutes after work or after the university hectic life, and then 5 minutes before you go to sleep. In this way, you are taking like big chunks of pauses so that you can get yourself back on track and get in control and reflect more on what has been going on. So I can see a lot of hands raised, but I think that I'm talking a lot. So maybe Walia, you can monitor this conversation because I don't want to consume a lot of time.
Okay. Well, Mona, a lot of the conversations are just going to lead into the next thing that we were going to do, which was the panel discussion, but we were going to bring up 3 points or 3 questions that we can start to look at in terms of, so I don't know, Nightingale, can you just project the, can you project the PowerPoint slide that you had with the theme? So
Yeah, give me a moment, please.
okay. I just while Nightingale is doing this, okay, she's sharing. It's fine. I'll speak. I did have a question, but maybe it's a good question to just ask the greater the greater group that's here right now. And so Night, just go to the. So this is the theme. So make mental health for all a global priority, right? And then we decided to. That's the broad question, but we decided to look into a few focused areas. So Night, can you move to the next screen? Just 2 slides. Okay, so sorry, that first point is the theme again, how to make mental health a global priority. But that's a very broad question, but under that broad question, we have how can we include mental health as part of self-care, which I think, Mona, you've kind of touched on as well throughout your presentation, how to empower children and youth to take care of their mental health. You were talking about children or the youth, let me use the word youth, that you encounter on campus, and them, you know, and then how to build supportive communities in the wake of climate change anxiety. Okay, so my question, so this is what we're going to now start talking about under these 3 points. So if people want to comment to a particular point, that would be really great. Please do contribute. So as you were talking and Nightingale was talking about the modernity versus the ancient ways and rural areas, I can't help not taking myself back, because I kind of have traveled the journey between these two worlds, and I kind of make that trip very often. Back and forth between when I go to visit home in Zambia, we're in Lusaka, where it's all the high-end cars and everybody knows the language around this mental health, what meant that there's even such a thing as mental health, and how to kind of self-care. And even there, like you said, it's something that's very new to that environment. But I tend to look at us as a very privileged few, people who are in spaces where there are people who are doing this research, providing the language, the descriptions, and that sort of thing. And then there are people in the rural areas that don't have the language. And in my observation, some of them, or a lot of them, are trying or fighting very hard. They don't realize that we look at them as very privileged and lucky to still have the land, to still be in the spaces, the green spaces, and how calming that is. And I always feel very calm when I go there, and I appreciate that when I go back to my mom's village, and I think they're so lucky that they can still do that. But they look at me and think we need to get out of here, and we are suffering, because we don't have money, or I don't know, but they do still, to them it's a hard life to wake up every morning and before the sun rises to go to the farm and dig up the fields and come back 5 hours later. It's a very hard life to walk long distances to go and fetch water. It's a very hard life to live in relationships that are abusive, for instance, and none of us in our community cultures, and I can speak about this. I don't know if I'll say it about our spaces that I've been in. I don't want to speak for other people. Although I tend to think that it happens quite a lot in African culture, where building the emotional intelligence for us to recognize things that are harming us, or harming our mental health, harming our environment, is very different. Now, I won't say that they don't know the things that harm the environment and that don't, because for years they have lived in harmony with the environment. But the things that inflict mental health issues like teenage pregnancy, even I'm sorry to say this, but like rape in the family, by family members, and there's no speaking about that. You find, people who have, and this is, some of these things have been brought about by modernity, and it's particularly called ethno-stress. Where the communities, people are just drinking their lives away, and they come back beating wives, beating husbands. There is no the ability to recognize that this is a response to something attacking my mental health. The language with which to speak about this, the what you call it, the I don't want to use the word sensibilities, but the ability for someone to get up and say, you know what, I need help and I need to go to a health center or somewhere. There are no health centers to go to, you know. Madness or mental health is defined when you see someone walking in the street stripping and talking to the air. Then and I think you talked about that, Mona, talking about mental health not manifesting in the ways in which we know. But I see these other things in a lot of our communities, where they need to know the language. So us in this privileged space where we can sit and we talk about these things, and we talk about from the science to just general social sciences, from the hard sciences to the social sciences, about this thing. How do we bring this now to people that don't have access to even the knowledge that they need to start taking care of their mental health? We need to do that. We need to find a way to do that, because otherwise we can just talk amongst ourselves up here and exchange very good ideas. But our aim, as I understand it, of Acopphe is to take it right down to the layman, and sort the problem out from there. I don't know if you have done any such research, and I would really love to hear it. Not just you, Dr. Mona, but anybody in the group who has actually worked with a village, or not a village, but people from such type of places, like rural areas where they haven't even heard about mental health, or they don't, they hear about it, but it doesn't make sense because it has not been a part of the culture for a long time. And I'm not saying that they don't have or haven't had ways in which to deal with these things, but they just don't have the language for it. I'm just saying the way in which we are looking at it and talking about it, like go and do yoga and those are just, things. So I just wanted to put that out there. I don't know if anybody else wants to come in. I see you, Mona. I see you. Okay, I see the chat.
So maybe I can come in till someone decide on sharing anything. It just came to my mind while you are discussing this, that maybe the financial issues represent the biggest part of the mental distress in rural areas, maybe. And maybe this is on top of infectious diseases also. But the idea that you are living in a green space and you are waking up early for agricultural services and this lifestyle, I think that it rarely occur. It rarely occur. But I don't know. For researchers, we need to have this integration between disciplines, social scientists with all the environmental scientists and also medical stuff, so that we can examine this. And it also came to my mind while you were discussing the new possibilities now in medicine, that treatment also became like in a different way completely. This vitamin B3, it is reported since a lot of time actually, but it has been like overshadowed by big pharma companies, that vitamin B3 is really, really effective for depressive disorders. And so nowadays, you'll find this new device called the oligogram. It is kind of a sensor which measures the amount of vitamins and minerals in your body, and then they give you the deficient vitamin or mineral by infusion in the clinical, sorry, it's like a clinic, okay? And so there's a new paradigm in medicine, a whole new paradigm, but then it is always overshadowed by this kind of magic pill that you have to take from the pharmacy, or you have to take from your healthcare professor, so that you will be convinced that it will work well. But there is another side of the story, that the medicine which is taught nowadays is actually fragmented, and it is based on this Western empire, which it's like system modules. You know that, Neeson, because you will study the digestive system, and then the cardiovascular system, and then in another year you will discuss more about the upper and lower limb, for example. And so this fragmented way of thinking, it doesn't give you an idea about the holistic approach to a patient. And so in a rural community, we may advise that you have to get more perspectives about the lifestyle of your grandparents and your grandparents, because this lifestyle to the place where you are living mostly fits more to your own microbiome at the beginning, and at the same time with your mental well-being also. So I talk a lot. Let me give a chance for others to contribute here. So back to you, Walia.
Hi, Joshua. I see your hand. Go ahead. Thank you. Thank you, Mona.
Thank you. I just had at least some two questions to ask. One is that I have this child that can't recall whatever has been taught. After some minutes, you can teach, after some minutes, he forgets everything. Can I rate that as a mental health? And if not, what do we call that? And how can that child be helped? Second, at what time will I know, or can I know, that someone or I myself has got a mental health? Lastly, can stress cause mental health? Thank you.
May I come in, because I think that today we are not running like a consultation here, and so I really take your question with a lot of I'll be very conservative, and so actually we need to keep our mindfulness practices on regular basis, and this comes with our spiritual connections, and at the same time with our daily habits. And so whenever you feel like you are not feeling well, you go into some kind of these mindfulness practices that you decide upon, so each and every one of us has his own way of feeling, feeling happy and searching for that happiness. For me, for example, I like chatting with my close friends. I like going for a walk. This gives me a lot of energy and boosts my serotonin level. I like indulging into reading something, and maybe Tajuddin Yusuf also, he has this habit of going to the library whenever he gets frustrated. And so each and every one of us has his own way of, cooling down. So this is my advice regarding your child. It is said that during the first 5 years in any child life, the cornerstone is like these vitamins and minerals. They have to be really in good amounts, so that the whole physical body can be built in a good way. And also you need to know what kind of food is he eating, after all, and you need to know also how much time is he spending on the screens, because it's said like 2 hours maximum for a teenager or something like this. Of course, we spend a lot of time on screens, but then screen time usually is implicated in a lot of troubles for the kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mona.
Thank you.
Joshua has a response in the chat by Samuel. Hi, Samuel. Nice to see you. You can just go over that.
Okay.
Carry on. You wanted to say something? Go on, and then Nightingale, you can.
Okay, thank you. Now, what about, okay, what about for the child? Is it now what type? If not, if it's not a mental health, what kind of disease it, and can he or she be helped? And how can she or he be helped? Because really need that help about the child. Thank you.
Joshua, I think
Yes.
if you read, if you read Samuel's response, there might be some way in which you can get an answer for how you can help. Have you taken the child for evaluation, for starters?
Not
Hey,
really.
Joshua? Okay,
Not
I
really.
think you might need to start there, I think. That might be a good idea.
Pardon that
Okay.
I'm jumping in. I just read what Samuel said, and dyslexia is like a difficulty in reading and comprehending. You know, there is a lot of variations in these kind of cognitive functions coming with the way of studying and attention. You know, this attention deficit. But as I mentioned, that there is a lot of nutrients, very, very, very important to look for the cause of if there is any deficiency of these micronutrients, like iodine, for example. But then you have to be very cautious because any supplement should not be taken from a pharmaceutical company like it is, because this will inhibit the internal hormone level. And so natural sources like CCL, like all the, the things having this iodine fortified salt, for example. So iodine is just one of these micronutrients that should be really in good level. And so good nutrition is the first step to investigate. Thank you, and I will not go into further details regarding these diagnostic questions.
Okay, I honestly feel like you could just take him for an evaluation if there are facilities for that, and they should, and then take it from there. I know sometimes they can get it wrong, and but I think it's to just keep trying. Someone else has made another suggestion in the chat if you'd like to look at that, Joshua. Nightingale, would you like to come in?
Thank you. Yeah, it's great conversation that's happening, I would say, because these are some of the things, when a lot of the time when we talk about mental health, like we should all know, it's where we think about the problems that actually separate those who seem to be well from those who seem to be really challenged, and almost people who cannot connect normally with quote unquote regular people. But some of the things that have gone through my mind, and this it may not apply to this specific child, but it's also good to also think about including in support of what Dr. Mona, what the others are saying, even in chat, that the diet, the nutrition is so important. And so we start to think about, even if we might be eating green vegetables and we might be eating what looks like a balanced diet, in what kind of soil was that food grown? Because we also see that the nutrients, more and more we're finding that if the soil is depleted, you're not going to get the outcome that you hope for from the food. So that's just in support of what Dr. Mona said, that that's why talking about making our own gardens, knowing what you put in that soil. And sometimes it's having to rebuild that soil over a long period of time if it had been depleted. But also thinking about the environment that is at home, because a lot of the challenges that you may see in the child may be stemming from a word that you used, Mr. Joshua, stress. And if it's a very stressful situation in the home, the child is struggling, probably has a very troubled home situation, then there's no way they're going to perform at all in school, because they probably are sleepless, they are worrying about what they're going to find at home. So some of the things that you could do as a person are also important in my mind. Like, for example, mindfulness, like Dr. Mona mentioned. So she mentioned about taking a few minutes as a person, and I know that that's hard, but especially when we look at people who gather in groups, we can make it easier. Like, for example, I know Dr. Mona is a professor somewhere, and she maybe already does this with her students, where it's like, take 5 minutes, because that might be the only place that the person may do some mindfulness and just do some relaxing, some whatever mindfulness you do. If it's a teacher, like in a primary school setting, it's a very good setting to work with the children, because they're very good listeners and they are there to learn, and you can really work them through the process of just mindfulness and taking a moment to take deep breaths. And it's from places like those that maybe the child could also come out and talk about situations that are also stressful. So I just wanted to touch on that sometimes we're the ones who create those spaces. And that's why it's so important for us to have these discussions, to hear from people like Dr. Mona, the suggestions that come, and others within this group that have suggestions, and borrowing each other's ways of doing things and learning collectively. So thank you for the opportunity, and thanks for the great discussion. I think, especially because we come from such different parts of the world, it's really good to hear not specific challenges, but it would be good to hear some of the ways that we have used in our areas to take care of our mental health as individuals. And I was going to pull up the definition that's given by CDC, because that's what I was looking at, just to say what mental health is. It's not just disease, but also being emotionally, psychologically, and socially well. And that encompasses a lot. So I'll stop there also. Thank you.
Thank you, Nightingale. I'm just seeing a flood of very supportive messages in the chat. Thank you so much. This is the community we hope to build, and it's really looking lovely. I think Ayola had his hand up. Am I correct that Wycliffe and Ayola are the same people, or is it? I'm not sure.
Hi, Wycliffe is
Hello.
Namongo. Wycliffe is Namongo.
Namongo, right?
Yes.
Okay, I always mix Ayola and Namongo.
No, we are okay. We are one people. Thank you very much, and yes, thank you very much. I appreciate for the opportunity, and Mona, thank you very much. And as I always say, from when we started, you've shown the zeal to lead and the zeal to have people that are happy in the group. And I appreciate that. And though I was away for some time due to some commitment, but at heart, this group has been there because I know what it stands for. And it's something that we should promote. Thank you very much. And Nightingale, Nathan, and my sister from Zambia. This is awesome. And what I can say is that everyone has a mental problem. Everyone, you who thinks who has a brain has a mental problem. But the problem comes up is management. How do you manage yourself? Because we go through stresses every day. A stressor is anything that will deflect your emotion every day. So to that, we need to look for ways that calm us down, that soothe our nerves so that we can be able really to see the next minute as worth living than giving up. So each of us, we are candidates for this, but we need also to have coping measures that will help. And what I can say from the brother who said about the child, I'm a father of 5, and these small children, they learn a lot, but it depends on the approach that you want them to reveal what they've learned. And number one, what children have is they have fear that there is a repercussion of not saying the right thing. Then with that, so what I can tell the brother is that the social angle is very important for this child. Let the child be evaluated. Talk to a psychologist, show love to the child. Then they'll be able to reveal everything. Not that they are learning. They have learned a lot. They have kept everything in their hard drive. But now it's because of the emotional aspect that is, or the situation where they are. Then I think if they get evaluated, then they get to open up. And it doesn't take long, like a week, then they started opening up. So that is something I can contribute. And what I can say is that for us to manage mental disturbances, well, that's how I can say it, I can call them in various situations, is that you need to have a perspective that what I want of myself and what do I want of myself, and what I want, is it very important for me to live the next moment? Then that's where mindfulness comes in, being in the here and the now comes in, and so many other things. And there's a book I read where it says that we are like drunken monkeys that have been bitten by the scorpion. We are drunken monkeys that have been bitten by the scorpion. That's the life that we live. But we need to talk to our brain and settle it down so that we can be able to see the next day. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Nyamongo. That's a very interesting analogy that you just said, but it is very true. We all have a level of mental illness. I know somebody who actually did a study, someone very close, about madness. Their study was about madness and talking about the degrees of madness that we all have. So very interesting to hear that come up again. There was somebody else. Sorry, there was somebody else that had their hand up and I can't seem to see them again. So just hold on, let me escape this screen. Okay, nobody has their hand up. A lot of information has been posted by Nathan as well. There's articles and more conversation in the chat. Please feel free to read through that. And let's keep the discussion going. Let's indulge more. I think this is such a brilliant discussion to have and a very important one. And every chance that we get, it's important to share our ideas, our experiences, our studies on what's going on. So please do feel free to jump in.
Hello everyone.
Hello.
Yes, I am Mungai. I'm from Kenya. I'm listening from here, Kenya. And actually, the discussion is very good, and I like it the way it is moving on. Actually, I agree with the Nightingale on the point that most of these challenges, the mental health comes from us, especially from the young children when they are in school. I am a teacher by profession, and in most cases, these children they come with various challenges and they come with various issues. And when you try to ask them some of these things, you will find that they are emanating from our home. So our upbringing of these children is what is making them to have a lot of mental challenges. Actually, the other thing is that I think what we need to do is that even in our curriculum, it need to be relooked, because you will find some of these children, maybe a child is below 7 years, like grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, and the kind of work the child is taking home, maybe for assignments from the school, the bag he is carrying full of books, the load is even actually heavier than the child himself. So you find that most of this curriculum it needs to be relooked in a way so that it can reduce some of these challenges these young children. There is too much to be covered by these young brains. And then the other thing I wanted to contribute is that maybe our culture again. We come from different ethnic background, and there are some other cultures that normally affect these young children. I want to look at a point whereby there are these communities that normally take the FGM, we call it the FGM, the female genital mutilation. And you find that some of these young girls, they are forced into it. Maybe it is not their liking, they are forced into it. And it is something, if they are forced into it, and then when they grow up, you will find that that thing was put in them and it was not their own thing. So they will be stressed the rest of their lives. And therefore, I think even some of the cultures that some of the communities, and especially some of the African communities that they are undertaking their children, they are taking their children through, people need to be sensitized. They need to be educated to adapt to adapt the new culture and stop the old culture that has been overtaken by events. Actually, thank you very much, and I look forward to get more information because it's a very interactive conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Guy, for your point. I took to point greatly this idea that that the curriculum that our young children are going through is contributing a great deal to the distress. And it's interesting that we're speaking about curriculum, because I'm wondering if right now in South Africa we are talking a great deal about decolonizing the curriculum, but this is just happening at higher education. Now, in this decolonizing the curriculum, I wonder if the answer doesn't lie in there in trying to bring in different perspectives and different ways of thinking about education, and actually just focusing on what is important for the children to know, because I know that not everything that they are learning is something that they're going to perceive yes as being it is useful, but maybe just not, not all of it at once at the same I know that in Japan, for instance, they don't give homework to children until they start grade 4. And the amount of homework that I've had to deal with as someone who is in grade 1, and the assessments and it's absolutely crazy. But back to the decolonial point in the changing of the curriculum. Unfortunately, here it's only happening in the higher education spaces. The conversations around this, and the basic education, I don't see them, or we don't hear of those conversations in the basic education. And it's crazy because there's a disconnect here. They've separated basic education from higher education. It's not just one thing, because a child moves from the basic level to that higher education level. So thank you for sharing that point. It's a very, very interesting point. Nyamongo, again, you've raised your hand. Go on. Hello? I thought I saw your hand, Nyamongo, again.
Sorry, I didn't bring it down. Let me bring it down.
Oh, it was an old hand. All right. There's something happening in the chat. Please pay attention to that as well. Anybody else want to jump in within the discussion?
So I'll be happy to share more, building on some of the links or information that I posted earlier in the chat. But I also want to step back and see if anyone who has not spoken or shared would like to take this opportunity. So I'll be on standby and welcome anyone. We certainly have a strong core priority about being democratic and also welcoming everyone to actively engage whenever we are together in these spaces. No pressure, but the floor is open and you all feel welcome to share.
Anybody? Any questions? Any comments? Anything to share?
I actually, sorry, I just want to come in and check with you, Nathan. You had something to say, but you wanted to give space to someone else? I do have something if you don't, but I also realize that I have spoken a lot. So I will also step back and take the opportunity later.
So maybe I'll jump in and talk about several points that build on this statement about where the roots for mental health are, and more broadly, the roots for health, and some interesting science-based evidence about things that are not currently widely practiced or recognized. So one is that hope is seen as a legitimate and powerful determinant of health. So that's relates very closely to a lot of the ideas and insights that have been shared so far. Another is that by being in community, you are much more well and balanced. We are a social species, we're social animals. And so even though much of the modern world, and not to overly simplify what life in a rural community is like, there are also challenges and problems that result from that kind of isolation where exposure and opportunity are generally more limited than if you're in a city or in the modern connected world. But really being in a community that is supportive, that celebrates you as a meaningful contributor and active participant in the community is also essential for health and mental health. And the last point is about action, that's not just overly focusing on the negative, the problems, the things that we lack, but instead coming together and taking action that actively moves us forward in regards to the major problems that we see together. And so that is a core component of what we're trying to do together in this space to cultivate hope, to have a meaningful community, and then to act together to solve many of these problems and challenges that we have. So in brief, two different things that I had posted in the chat. One was a study that used modern technology, brain imaging, to look at areas of the brain that are active whenever people are shown different images. And the conclusion from that study was that in some respects, we are hardwired as human beings for rural tranquility, such that even if we are born in a city, if we are shown images of rural landscapes and places, we have more calm and are more balanced. Then the other information that I posted was an interesting story about a journalist who studied people who are memory champions, even at the world level. And he applied some of their techniques. And interestingly, within a year, he went from being a novice or someone who didn't have high levels of memory capabilities, but within a year, he was a memory champion. And some of the information that was synthesized is that consistently the people who are champions in the memory realm apply some techniques that are highly visual and very much showcase that we do have that architecture or that hard drive, as Nyamongo referenced, or we are hardwired with the brain architecture and the circuitry that we work with to understand and remember based on places that we've been and visual images that we can map out to help us remember important things. So in short, the way that I see it is that we are trying to seek a balance together by taking the best that comes from our heritage, our culture, our ancient wisdom, and apply that in the modern world. And so in a setting like this, we're gathered virtually where we can connect with like-minded people. But it's also absolutely important that we have meaningful connection and we're taking action in the specific places where we live, our homes, our workplaces, our communities, and try and have the balance to take the best of the old and the new and blend it together to live a beautiful life of healing and hope together. So back to Nightingale or Wanda.
Thank you, Nathan, for handing over. We're actually getting very close to to the close of this gathering, as we have stayed and shared. And I think it's a good beginning for such conversations where we can come and openly converse about those things that that bog us down, how we can do better as humans, and just share those ideas. So I think the best thing for now is to get close to winding down. So Nathan, thank you for the thoughts that you have shared, because one of the things I was thinking about, and the reason why I raised my hand. Welcome, Vanessa. Good to see you. Didn't think you were gonna make it, so it's good to see you here. It's just thinking about those people who do not have the privilege of even being in a conversation like this one. People like, for example, those women who are in the rural areas who are looking for firewood, trying to think about what they're going to feed their children, or people who are thinking about really how to bring bread to the table and how we can normalize self-care and mental health for such people as well, because we must acknowledge that we are privileged in a way to even know and understand that this is a situation that's there that we need to handle. And maybe that's, I would encourage you to, if you have understood what I am saying, to share in chat. And we can also continue this conversation on the WhatsApp page, the Acopphe WhatsApp page. We also have a MRN WhatsApp page. it's a conversation that can be continued. Maybe to just give a few minutes, I think Walia is what I'm seeing, to maybe a person or two who may have something burning that they want to share and have some conclusion from Dr. Mona as well. And I would also specifically like to give Vanessa a chance, because you walked in as one of the last people, in case you have something to share, if you you have followed some on our discussion today. But I'll hand it over back to you, Walia, and then you can call on anybody else.
Yeah, no, Knight, I think you captured what I was trying to say earlier on very well, in a very short and concise way. That while we are sitting here, and like I said, we're the very privileged few to be able to, you know, have access to this type of information. How can we as Acopphe and Acopphe members now take that all the way down? Like, I think that that's something, as you said, as part of our conversations that we need to carry on. It would be nice to have, I think, I'm not sure how we can do this, but have a virtual ideas box. I don't know how that would work, where we can see how we can put ideas together and take these conversations, you know, further into these communities, because you're very right, as you've said. There is a lot of, I think I said it earlier on, that while we sit here and think going into those green spaces where most of these communities live, we think they're lucky, but they struggle and think we are lucky and want to get out of those spaces and think life is so much easier on this end. And they don't understand how much stress and how much illness comes with the life of always being in a car, always sitting in front of a computer, always, you know, having to eat wrong food, important food, because Monsanto's involved or whatever, you know. So it will be very interesting to see what we can do, even to just bring about awareness in those areas, and maybe with some practical solutions that they can try. You know, maybe one or two people will secretly go and try something out that we, you know, suggested. And this also comes with a great deal of Nightingale, something that's very close to your heart: language, the language of the people. Yeah, that would be very interesting to see. Yeah, so I don't know if Vanessa, you'd like to say something? Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I'm so happy I could at least see you all here. But I think Joshua was with his hands on before me. Is that right? Joshua, would you like to say something?
Okay, I just wanted to thank you very much. Just wanted to appreciate you all for the session. It's very educative, and I think we continue with the same spirit. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
So I would just would like to express, well, first of all, sorry for not being able to be here since the beginning. I missed all your talks, so I hope it's recording, so I will catch it later. But I would like to thank you very much for this opportunity, and to say that I'm happy to be able to see you and gather with you, because talking about mental health, I mean, this that is going on here is one of the most powerful things, you know, to construct and to build network, and like in people engaged with the same thoughts and the same feelings, and, you know, the same values. And Acopphe is about that. It's about sharing these values and these dreams and getting together to make it happen. However, so I'm very honored to be part of this network that I consider really a family. And yeah, and this is very strong for mental strength nowadays, especially even being online, and another thing, I'm not sure what if Mona covered that, but I do think it's very important to pay attention about food when we talk about mental health. I would love to have had time to build something for you, but I will do this still in another opportunity that will come for sure. It's just it's very important to eat a lot of fiber, like vegetables, legumes, grains, whole grains, because our microbiome, it's totally linked with our mental health. And like we call this prebiotics, these fibers, they are one of the most important things, more important than even the probiotics itself, which are the bacteria that is part of our microbiome. So it's very important to eat a lot of fiber, as much as you can. We say like around 35-40 grams a day. It's kind of hard to get to this, but so if you can put like grams and powders and seeds everywhere to make your microbiota strong. Yeah, and nature for sure. I guess I heard Walia saying about greens and as much like put your feet on the earth, holding a tree or whatever. This makes a lot of strength. Oh, I think that's it. I'll pass the word because maybe somebody else wants to speak. And I'm so glad we are all here. I would like to thank you very much for that. And sorry again for not being here on time. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you so much, Vanessa. Joshua, I'd just like to acknowledge, because I think I see you need to run, but I would just like to acknowledge and say thank you for being vulnerable with us about your child, and for sharing with us the problem that you're facing. I know it's not easy to put ourselves out there like that, and so I just want to appreciate that, and we hope that you find help for him. And of course, there's this community. I'm sure people will continue to think about you and post, on the group. We'll continue to see what we can share with you that might help. So thank you for sharing that with us. I would really like to just acknowledge that. All right. I think we should start winding down. I don't know any final words, Mona.
Thank you.
I would like. Oh, sorry, Joshua, go ahead.
No, I just want to thank you all, and I wish to meet you again. Thank you. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Here Nathan has just posted a few upcoming planetary health conferences that are both going to be both free and virtual. So you can attend if you're able to. Please register and join with your friends and your family. That's what is posted in the chat. So you can just look, it's the Planetary Health Annual Meeting. That's from October 31st to November the 2nd. And we will be there presenting posters. Some of us, other people will, I think might have gotten other kinds of presentations, but please support as well. There will also be the In Vivo Planetary Health Conference in early December. So please don't forget to look into those and join and participate. And I would just like to invite Dr. Mona, thank you for staying so long and for your presentation. obviously got a lot of questions and conversation going. So I'd like you to just have some final words as for us. And then I think we can say goodbye to each other.
Thank you so much, Walia. And my take-home message for today on the World Mental Health Day, that we need to find our own purpose in life and to set goals larger than our dreams, actually, so that these can push you each and every day and make you jump out of bed with much enthusiasm and energy to carry on with confidence. Even though you will stumble in so many challenges, but then you have to keep your eye focused on what you should achieve before you go. So thank you so much, Walia. And again, I thank all the MRN team and the larger community of the Acopphe. You have created a community of like-minded people with a purpose, which is very important, that keep us going and thriving to build that community together. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mona. Nightingale, is there something you'd like to say in closing?
Yes, I just want to say thank you. I guess I'm gonna try and put my video on. I am I'm serving different roles right now as I also try to put things together. I'm working nights, and I think it's good to be vulnerable like that. And also trying to get quick breakfast, because we kicked the kids to the side a little bit. I mean, so that we could have this discussion about mental health. So now we'll go back and try to get back with them so that we can regroup and connect. So I just really want to add on to what has been said by everybody to say thank you so much for gatherings. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you, Mona, for preparing and coming to feed us with the knowledge that you have. We could not have had this gathering without each one of us that made it. Even Vanessa, who was at the who entered as the last one. It's beautiful to have all of us, because in community, I think we grow, and together we're able to do more than we can by on our own. So thank you again, and we look forward to continuing this conversation about our mental health and how it breaks down for each of us individually and us as a global community. Thank you so much to all of you.
Thank you so much, Night, for that. I think that we can, okay, Nathan just posted his message. Nathan, would you like to say something as the exec team? Hey.
Yeah. Here they are. It's very nice to see you. Lovely.
I want to thank Walia and Nightingale. I think you were the brains, the sweats and blood and tears behind this gathering today. So thank you for all that you did to bring us together. And the information that I posted was Swahili saying, Pamoja twaweza, together we are able. And we are searching for a motto that is a strong candidate for an Acopphe motto. As it stands right now, we're working with someone to think about a website. So hoping to launch to the world out there soon to really show who we are and what our dreams and goals are for healing ourselves internally, along with the world outside of us. So happy to be together actively promoting the health for ourselves and the health of our world. Looking forward to a beautiful and bright future. So thanks again to everyone, and look forward to reconnecting again soon.
Thank you so much, Nathan, for that. And to everybody, this is the executive team. Nightingale Wakigari, Nathan Uchman, Vanessa Guiz, Mona L. Shabini, and myself, Wale Lungu. And thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. It's definitely not the end of the conversation, actually just the beginning. And we hope that you will carry on with this conversation in our chat, and that will make more spaces for more of this conversation later on. I don't know, for the people who are new, please, can you pass your name on to any one of us, or someone that you know that's in the Acopphe team, and they can tell us that you're not on the Acopphe team, so that we can put you on there. Thank you once again for the lovely evening, and good night to everybody. On my end, it's good night. For those who are just starting breakfast, Nightingale, go and look after those kids' mental health. You kick them to the curb. That is not cool. So for those on the other end who it's good morning for, good morning. The people who it's good afternoon for, have a good afternoon. And that's it from me. I don't know if anybody else wants to say anything. If not, Nathan, may you stop the recording, please? And we'll just be here for, and I'll be here for an extra 5 to 10 minutes